Good day, folks, and welcome to another edition of Lumberjack Logic. I'm your host, Neil Johnson, with yes, I've got a bonus in here, two phenomenal interview clips, folks. One, the interviewer, the other, the interviewee, just completely getting eviscerated. You're going to love it. One is CNN's Caitlin Collins, and the other is Democrat Senator Chris Coons, because they're all in an uproar over Pete Hegseth and the Signal chat. And they're trying to act like this is some sort of top secret, super secret, couldn't let it leak information. All while Joe Biden botched Afghanistan, Hillary Clinton used bleach bit and hammers to destroy evidence and actually was communicating with classified top secret information. This wasn't the case here. But the Biden regime even said this was best practices to use Signal. And the whole thing's just ridiculous. It's overblown. It's the biggest nothing burger. But the takedowns are just phenomenal. So check this out, but also check out my sponsor, MyPillow, MyPillow.com. Use promo code Lumberjack, folks, for big savings on the best sheets available.
Did you call for Lloyd Austin's resignation? Not only did we lose 13 service members, we left $70 billion worth of equipment that fell into the hands of the Taliban.
Talk about dropping a truth nuke, folks. I mean, $70 billion left in the hands of the Taliban. 13 service members dead. But there were other Lloyd Austin problems, too.
A couple of years later, he was out of pocket for 2 weeks and didn't tell the White House. Did you ask for him to resign at this point?
Yeah, just out of pocket. Doesn't matter. Hey, who knows where I am? And remember Mark Milley negotiating with China behind Trump's back before Joe Biden took office? That's called treason.
Are you actually asking for Hegseth and Waltz to resign when you didn't ask for Lloyd Austin?
There is nothing that Lloyd Austin did by getting health care treatment.
Okay, what about Afghanistan? What about Afghanistan? Did you guys forget that? The statute of limitations is over for 4 years? That's what
the fact
Mark
that the
Warner
Secretary of Defense was getting health care is fundamentally different from the Secretary of Defense sharing on an unsecure platform.
You just said it was a success.
I love how Coons gets nailed to the wall here, because Coons had to admit that the attack on the Houthis was a success and Afghanistan was not. But somehow, because he used Signal, this is the reason Hegseth needs to step down. And the other thing that's happening here is deflection. He's taking the issue of Lloyd Austin being out of pocket and trying to equate it to a medical issue. The issue is not that Lloyd Austin had a medical issue. The issue is that he didn't let anybody know. Now, I suppose you could make the argument, who was he going to let know? Because Joe Biden wasn't mentally cognizant, but that creates its own other set of issues.
Afghanistan was not a success.
I am not saying that the attack on the Houthis was not a success. I am saying that he demonstrably violated a directive that was just shared in the Pentagon about don't use Signal for classified information. It is not reliably secure. And one of the folks on that group chat was in Russia at the time.
Russia. Folks, they've got to stick Russia into everything. But the reality is there was nothing top secret discussed on that. It involved other people on the Signal chat simply talking about the operation, not giving any specifics.
That information
on a secure line.
Look, all of us use apps like WhatsApp.
You're running out the clock on Afghanistan.
You're running out
the clock on.
It was a mistake for Donald Trump to negotiate with the Taliban an agreement for winding down the Afghanistan war.
Afghanistan was Donald Trump's fault?
Not only is any single bad thing that happens now Donald Trump's fault, like the price of eggs, which happened because Joe Biden's administration killed off all the chickens, but everything that happened while Joe Biden was president was also Donald Trump's fault, just so you're keeping up.
If you'd let me finish my sentence, I will
that's what you did say that. You did say that.
It was a mistake to negotiate an end to that war that put Biden in a box. The execution of the withdrawal from Afghanistan was badly handled, and the loss of those 13 Marines was a tragedy.
People, this wasn't just badly handled, okay? So let's just start there. We left behind interpreters and U.S. citizens that all should have been removed from that country before the Taliban was ever given the chance to take power again. Absolutely insane. The ineptitude, the dereliction of duty, all of it that took place there is not just like a mistake.
Should you have asked for Lloyd Austin's resignation from that, or?
I don't know whether Lloyd Austin's the person who should have been held accountable for it, but there should have been accountability.
Oh, yes, there should have been accountability, but there never was, Chris, because you had no interest in it at the time, because you were trying to prop up Joe Biden as an actual real person who had real thoughts and wasn't mentally impaired and unable to do his job, and everything was getting signed by AutoPen. But we all know Chris Coons is a tool. Another tool is Caitlin Collins of CNN. But the director of the VA did something absolutely beautiful. You are going to love this.
Though, to have this conversation, to add a reporter, and to have it on an unsupported, classified group setting?
Caitlin, as I've just told you, I've just answered the question. I wasn't a part of it. And, I'm not going to speculate more than what the president's already talked about and those who've been involved have talked about. But we'd love to talk about the veterans.
I love Doug Collins' response here because he is staying in his lane. He wasn't even on the Signal chat. He doesn't have anything to do with the Pentagon. He's the head of Veterans Affairs, okay? That's what he does. That's what he's there to talk about. But Caitlin Collins doesn't want to talk about that.
Yeah, and I do have questions about the veterans, but given what we saw with the group chat and how this was used, you are a member of the cabinet. You obviously know these other members, several of them who were in there. Is this typical for the cabinet to have conversations over Signal? Is this something that you use?
Again, he's already explained he doesn't want to talk about that. Maybe he uses Signal. Maybe he uses Telegram. We don't care. We don't care, Caitlin. Nobody cares. But what's interesting about this is Caitlin's trying to do an end around because she has no communication with the White House. Because she's such a tool, Trump always shuts her down in the White House press briefings, if you've seen that. And she's probably not going to get an interview with Pete Hegseth. So she's got to try and make the news somehow, but it's not working. And how he handles this next is beautiful.
All right. Well, Caitlin, since you undoubtedly do not want to talk about the VA, I have a question as VA Secretary. As Cabinet, I want to ask you, because I've been curious about this, because my job is to take care of veterans, and I would like to know why CNN is hostile to veterans, especially one in Florida, where you just had a $5 million defamation suit taking offense at a veteran who was trying to help people. In fact, one of your employees actually said, we're going to nail him. I have a question for you, Caitlin. Is that employee still employed? Are you really concerned about veterans? So if we don't want to talk about veterans now, you want to talk about everything else, I'd like to hear from CNN as the Veteran Cabinet Secretary why CNN seems to have a problem with veterans.
Well, Mr. Secretary, respectfully, my question was about whether or not you as a member of the cabinet use this. And respectfully, I'm conducting the investigation.
Whoa, did she just say investigation? Not interview. Apparently, it's an investigation now. That's why she had him on. He has really tripped her trigger.
And I do have a lot of questions for you on Veterans Affairs, but I don't think it would be unwarranted to ask.
What you want to do is talk about a subject that I've already answered. And if you want to continue this like this, that's fine. But there are VA employees who are working very hard. There are veterans who get their care from the VA and they get their benefits from the VA. And it does me no good to speculate on something that I've already asked and answered. So I've asked and answered your question. Why don't you answer mine? Is this person still employed who said they were going to nail one of my veterans, who you had to do a $5 million award from a jury because of defamation, and then you settled the case? Answer my question.
Respectfully, sir, I'm asking the questions here, and I have no involvement in what you're referencing there. But if you don't want to answer the question,
I'm the one asking the questions. And I don't have any involvement there, so I don't want to talk about that. Isn't that what he just said about Signal? I mean, like, rewind the interview? I mean, that's exactly what he said. He's not involved with Pete Hegseth in those conversations, so he doesn't need to worry about that. He's assigning to her the same thing she assigned to him, which is, you're part of CNN. Do you want to answer those questions? You're part of the administration. Do you want to answer those questions? He doesn't have the ability to answer those questions. He doesn't know too much about it. But Caitlin Collins is a tool. But this is a real clinic on how you handle the media, how you flip the narrative. It was absolutely beautiful. You know what else is beautiful? Sheets. The best sheets known to man. The sheets that Donald Trump uses, available at mypillow.com/lumberjack or by calling the 800 number at 1-800-568-2865. $29.98 for queens, $34.98. Folks, these are phenomenal sheets. Long staple Egyptian cotton. The best sheets. I'm telling you, I absolutely love MyPillow sheets. Remember to subscribe if you're new to the channel. We'll see you on the next episode. Peace out.